It's a great pleasure to introduce Frédéric. Frédéric Charles is an IS director with Suez Environnement, which is one of the biggest French company. He's in charge of cloud platform and delivering digital data and services to French water business customers and citizen and local authorities. Frédéric will talk about Agile and Lean in a very strategic project. I will just give one story about Frédéric. When the CIO of the company he's working for changed his offices and left the one he was using, Frédéric just jumped on the occasion to bring developers in the CIO office. And I think that's a story that tells a lot about the value we see in IT. So please welcome Frédéric Charles from Suez Environnement.
Thank you. So to present the project, it's an extranet. So Suez Environnement is working with municipalities and also customers and industrial, but my focus is on municipalities. In an extranet, municipalities basically they are managing cities, and they gave us the services. We sign with them contract to manage water networks or sewer networks or different environmental services. So but when they sign this contract with us, it's for 6 years, 10 years, 12 years. So they want to monitor the activity. They are okay with us to manage the operations in the city, but they want to have feedbacks. They want to coordinate. So we need to give a lot of data to tell the different municipalities where are our agents in the streets, on which roads we are working, on which plant we are maintaining, or what are the problems and so on. And so to do that, we start with an extranet 7 years ago, and it worked well. But 7 years with the pace of IT, it's very long. So we had to change it last year. We had to change it because it was not possible to continue with it. So we had to change this system and find a new one. So but the point here is that we already had customers using the systems, only 20% of our customers, and we wanted to create a new one, but dedicated to 100% of the customers. So we have to find productivity in producing this data. And this new system is a system that is working today. So with the BlaBlaCar kind of IT, not legacy IT. So it's mobile, it's cloud, it's data-driven architecture, and it's co-designed with the customers. We had this morning the question of the legacy. Basically, this is what is in this picture. We create a mirror of the legacy in a data store, and we built our platforms on top of this mirror. So basically, we are okay because we only handle the data. So it's okay. It was not easy, but we have a clear view of everything that is happening in all of the legacy without changing the legacy. We developed an architecture, and Agile was very important for this architecture in this presentation. This was the context, how to change this IT and develop a new system. Why we went to Agile? I'm an IT manager. I jumped into Agile development last year. The first difficulty we found was to capture the requirements. With 2,000 customers, 10 agents per customer, so 20,000 users. 20,000 users, it's not possible to create the big requirements and have it validated by the marketing or by the customer department. It's not possible. So we start with some features and then try to improve the system. The second was the complexity. I told you that it's a new platform, cloud, mobile, data, nothing that we already have. So we had to manage this complexity, and one way to manage the complexity to split the problem into small pieces. This is what we have done with the architecture, and I will be back on that. And also we have a migration problem. So the idea, we could not afford to have a big bang, all our municipalities coming the same day on the platform. So Agile was also a way for us to to manage the transition and have 2-3 customers, work with these customers, then 3 more customers, and so on for the customers that already use the old systems to move to the new systems. So it was really this idea. But in fact, the real fact that made that we have launched this project with Agile methodology was the fact that we asked to a system integrator, and for the price of building the systems. And this system integrator knew the old system because he built the old one, and the price he gave us in millions was too high to afford. So the only way for us was to change something, to change the game. So the idea was this system integrator really helped us by giving us a price that was nonsense. It gives us really the fact that, okay, it's not possible to develop today these systems gathering all the requirements of everyone and have a fixed price on that. So this is why we start to find a way to manage it differently than only the way we used to manage the project. Why lean? It's a new platform. It's a new platform we don't know. It's a new platform that we will run in the future because I'm an IT manager, so that means that I'm in charge and I'm responsible for the delivery of the service after the project. So I'm I'm concerned about delivering the service after the project. So the idea is to prepare the run, and so for us it was clear that instead of building the architecture for the project, it was more the idea of building a delivery machine for implementing any digital services on the platform in the future. And since it was also a guy, so that means that we don't care about starting with only 20% or 10% of our features, because we are running, we will run new features, and have this continuous learning in doing the system. Behind this, the point is that the continuous learning is for us a continuous transformation. And if you want to start from this guy but you want to be the green one, not necessarily possible to do it in one time. So you have maybe to change and to have this continuous transformation. Continuous learning is also continuous transformation. So I'm not trying to have the best platform the first day when I open. I don't really care. My point is to be on track and to be able to have this transformation so I can have in the future the best platform I need. So continuous transformation and Agile. In IT, if you look at what Gartner is an IT company, a company analyzing IT, they have prediction every year, and last year they had prediction telling people, and we had, and I think if Kazo talked about this, most organizations will go with a fast IT and kind of legacy, and we were really convinced that we were starting to build this fast IT on the mirror of the legacy, of the data of the legacy. And the second is that we were also convinced that more and more investments of the company will come on this platform and not on the legacy itself. So this is why we started to build really. We focus on the service, on the customer, the new service, but we focus also on the platform behind to be able to deliver the service in the future. So my point is this project for us is Agile plus Lean. It's a project of transformation, 3 transformations. We are fishes and we want to learn how to fly. So it's transformation of the platform first, because we don't have the platform to be able to develop this service. Transformation of our team, because we will be in charge in the future of implementing the new services, and somehow in a transformation of the IT department, but it was not putting per se that we want to transform the IT department. It was more a contribution with a new methodologies, a new platform, and new success, so the IT department can build on that and then say, okay, now let's see where we can reuse this asset, where we can reuse this methodology, and also when you have a success, it's easier to go and deal with the business to go for another project. So it's really a transformation issue. What we've learned, and we have done this before the project in one month before the project, was really to start with architecture. Why we start with architecture? Because we had this legacy issue that we have to integrate. So the architecture helps us to separate the task, separate the legacy, and separate our systems. So we are sure that we have dependencies, but not that much, and also separate all the different way of gathering the data. I mean, this is, I don't know if you are aware what APIs are. Basically, it's a common language where you can request, give me in this area the intervention, the work you have in the street, and then the system replies you and gives you the list of these works, and then we have another API. So we split the problems in different pieces, and our problems was only to split the legacy into a set of data that we could request separately, so we could build them separately, and then we can build the portal. So architecture was key for us to separate the task, and so if we could separate the task, we can be more agile with less dependencies with other systems. Another value of the architecture is DevOps. From start, we had the goal to have a continuous delivery, because if continuous delivery means that we deliver software every week. So in an IT department, every week for an application can be very quick. And it was our goal. Now this is what we are doing every week. The point was, if we are able to work co-design with the customers a new service, and we are not able to put it in production, so the customer in a city can have access to this service, it's useless. So that means that every time we produce a new service, we should be able to put it in production automatically, because if you don't do it automatically, you spend time in adjusting manually everything. So it took us 3 months to start from a manual process of putting in production. We have 3 platforms. But after these 3 months, we succeed in doing it with a continuous delivery, and it's key. I mean, without this, it's very hard to talk about Agile. The way I see, but development is one thing. Architecture can help, but development is in the middle of 2 other pieces, business and operations. And the point is, this is a Mobius, I don't know the name in English. This is an infinite loop. So you start business on one side, and then you go to the development because you develop the service. Then you put in production, so you go to operation. But the operation then goes to the business, because the customers use the systems, and you have the metrics to know if they use or if they don't use. So the business gives you more feedbacks for the development than to change, and so on. So this is our idea. So the point is that when we start the project and when we start the continuous delivery, now we are now in a track of having incremental transformation forever. And don't go in this kind of project if you are not ready for that. Because once you are in production, once the customers start to use, when you start to talk to the customers, are you okay with that? How can we improve? How do you use it? And so on. And then you build this back into the business. I mean, the customer won't stop to say no. I mean, it's enough. No, they will ask more. So concretely, this one is busy because I mixed the task in organization with the slide I show you. Basically, that what I mean with business in IT, the requirements. The screens, the user experience. So basically, we have someone for the designing on the product. So the user experience, the UX testing, because once we have designed the product, we show the product, the design of the product to the customers, so they give us the feedback. We have the general design and a long-term roadmap. So this business it's a loop. and we only put the features into the product backlog once we are very clear about how this fits into the big picture. Then the product backlog, they have a lot of functional and technical features to develop. So they develop these features. They test the features. This should be also automatized. Then we put this into production, but the point is that the goal for the developers is to put in production. But once a feature is in production, it doesn't mean that the feature is available for a customer. We have a complex system of managing the rights, so we still are able in this third loop to say, like Facebook or like Google, which customer can have access to which service. So everyone is committed to his loop. The business is committed to produce general design and features that are sufficiently documented so we can start the development. The development is committed to put in production features that are required by the business, and the support team, which is the customer team somehow, but also the operations, managing the platform and handling the technical support, is committed to deploy the different services to the customer as soon as they are ready to use them, or maybe to pay to use them, because this is could be also a selling process at this point. So this is the way we handle, because sometimes when we talk about Agile, we have the idea of one loop and everyone in the same room. Yes, but in the real life, in our group, it was more complex. We succeed in being Agile, but the problem we had to split. We had to split the problems in three pieces. The main pieces is the blue one. This is why we put the developers in the CIO office. For tools, we start a lot of tools. The best tools are the easier, the simple tools. So this is our key tool to coordinate all the team. On the top, we have the number of the week, the number of developers we have. So because the more developers you have, the more features you can handle. Then we have the features. The features, we have three kinds of features. The blue one is an activity with a dependency. So be careful to be sure that you can manage this week because of the dependency. New features can be developed directly, and the red one are technical tasks. So that means that you have an impact on the platform. So it's a kind of dependency, but dependency with the platform. Maybe you have to modify the platform to be able to implement the function. So and that's it. It's 4 weeks. So our visibility is 4 weeks. We have the roadmap before. The one before is a longer one, but this one is a 4-week roadmap. It gives enough visibility to the developers to know what they have to do, and then they take this and they start their own Scrum process. Because one question we have is it Scrum that you are doing? No, this is really managing the project. Then the Scrum is every day. So there is a daily. So they do this roadmap, they do the features, and then they develop in a Scrum in a Scrum methodology. So very simple. So for this coordination, we take a picture and we send the picture to everyone, and then we print the picture every week. Another tool also we use. We start with 60 pages Word document for the requirements. Then they were done by a dedicated person in the team. And we realized after some months that the developers, they don't read the requirements. So when we were testing, yeah, you can laugh, but in some projects, you don't see this, because when you give the requirements, the result is 6 months later. So maybe you forgot, or maybe, I don't know. But when you give the requirements and you ask something 2 weeks later, and then we say, okay, but we talked about this 15 days ago, and it's not exactly. So we took the document, we tried to improve the format of the document, we tried to put more rules and so on. But the basic is that they just don't read. So we removed the designing phase, and this is a learning we had from our lean approach. And without lean, we would not have changed this. So we removed the specification. In fact, we specify the system, but feature by feature with the developers directly every week, instead of having basically we put the specification in the blue part instead of having it in the green part of my slide. So the question now is, if you directly document the specification, you specify with the developers, when do you document? We document when we test the systems, when we test what the developers produce. And it can be tricky. It's not the way it is in all of IT methodologies, but it's working, and it's working at a pace that is twice what we had before. So be pragmatic. I mean, this is the way now we use, and our methodology is based now on Trello and on managing tickets on Trello directly, where developers and designers can directly interact on very small pieces. The visual management. So the OBEA, it's the red room. So if a task is late, you have a red point, a red dot on the task. If it's late, you go in the red box. But if something is working well, you can get red candies. And so this is where we can all meet together and have a clear view of the project. I've learned that we need to clean it when it's too busy. So, and it's very easy when you do the meeting, and then at the end of the meeting you realize that you just use this board, and this board, and 3 others are not used. Then you wait for the next time. Then you see that always the 3 same are used by the team. Okay, so get rid of the 3 others, and maybe they will come back. So it was just because the focus at the moment was on these 3, because the pressure is here. So we took pictures, and these pictures are sent as minutes for the meeting. About customers, we talked already about biz dev, like what I call business in this graphic, which is business and developers. So to make that the screens are reviewed, the UX and the screens are reviewed by the customers before they are developed. But also don't forget operation and business, because this is where lies the user experience at the end. So we put a button. We took this from startup. We realized that all startups, they have a feedback button on their portal. We say, why don't we have a feedback button on our portal? So we put a feedback. The first answer was, yeah, but if we put a feedback button, the customers will use it, and then how do we handle? Okay, but maybe it's a good news that the customers talk to us. So we put the button. In fact, it's not very well used by the customers, but it's there on every screen. And the nice thing is that if you press on it, it captures automatically your email, because you are logged in the platform, and then you can make a copy of the screen and explain exactly on which screen you have a question and who you are. So it's a very easy process for a feedback, to tell us, I don't understand. You say that you have 13 works in the street. There is no cars in the street today when I'm talking. Okay, can you explain this? So it gives us more information than sending an email. You don't know which contract he's talking about. You don't know which street he's talking about, and so on. Then we can get also satisfaction survey. Today we have not used a massive satisfaction survey. We go directly and interview this morning. I had a person in my team in one major city interviewing with the city, because they were not using very well the systems compared to the number of users they have. So we got a lot of feedback. Say, no, it's not very useful because this is missing. Okay, so we put this into the feedback. And also what is key, and this should be built in the platform from start, is the fact that we can monitor the platform. So we know exactly, not necessarily who is on the platform, but how is used the platform, which URL is used on the platform, which API is used, and if we have the correct disponibility of the servers and so on. So these are feedbacks, and it gives us information to manage our process. The main difficulties to reach our objectives of lean and agile, the first, we started during maybe 2 months with no link with developers, and we don't notice. And one day we say, but okay, we are talking about managing the project, but there is no developers. Developers were there, but the chief of developer was there, but the chief of developer was not a developer himself. It was just someone, the hierarchy of the developers. Then we realized that if you don't have the developers directly involved at some point in the process, and this is why we refocus the one part of the process on the development. The second point also is that when you deal with integrators, system integrators, they all have Agile on their brochure saying, okay, we do Scrum, we do this, we do this. The only point I noticed, maybe it's changing, but they have not trained their people. So this is only marketing in our case. So the point is that we really need, when you work with system integrators and you want to go lean and agile, to check that they have trained the people. And it's not just because they have read a book, even if Lean Startup seems to be a very inspiring book, if I refer to this morning. But anyway, you are paying people for, so they need to be trained. One difficulty with my team also was to accept errors on a weekly basis. It's not very easy to Lean. I mean, Lean is nice. I mean, I'm new on Lean. So at the end of the week, say, okay, no, we have not done it. It's easier at the beginning of the week to say, yeah, we're going to do it. But at the end of the week, say, no, sorry, we missed that. And it's not even, since I was managing the team, it was easier to handle the process, and I was part of the project also. But I think be aware that I don't know, some very IT specialists, they are right. So there is no errors. Just maybe you have not mentioned the right way. I don't know. Anyway, at the end of the week, if you want to go next week, so you have to find a way to manage the errors. Last difficulties we encounter are budget and fixed price. The budget is very hard to follow the budget because of the fact you have flexibility. When something is missing, you say, okay, go in, go out, and so on. So it's not necessarily easy to have I mean, not the point is not that it's not easy to manage a budget, but it's not easy to be able to follow a budget. So you have to find new ways because the contracts are not necessarily written in a way that you can change things. So basically, your project say, okay, if you don't need this, remove it. But if in the contract you pay it, what's the value of removing? We remove it. So that's my point. And fixed price also are very very difficult. Last recommendation, a kind of summary of this idea. The first one is that you need a reference. So we need to measure. We need to measure. We start to measure. At first, just the number of features we had in production. Then now we are measuring the customer satisfaction. We are measuring the traffic. I mean, at each point of the project, you need to measure something to be able to tell to your team, okay, are we better than the week before or not? And what can we do about it? The second one is a very tricky one. Everyone is saying that I don't know if you are aware about the way you build software. You build on development platform, then you push it on the pre-production platform, and then you push it on a production platform. And the production is the one that your customers see. The pre-production is the one that you can test, and the development is the one where you do the job. And everyone will say, yeah, you should have the ISO platform, the same exactly Linux version on the tree environment. I mean, yes, I swear. And no. The fact is that you really need to be there and be and not accept, yes, but you know, on this one we need to have this statistics tool which is not on development, so we can change this. And if you are not ISO, if you don't have the ISO production, I mean, it's very hard in a project to be very reactive, because you don't know if it's your system which is not working or if it's the platform. So it's a way to really isolate the platform from the systems. And in our complex web platforms, this is really key. The third one is organize the work around development. So the key people are the developers, because at the end they are the person writing the code, and the users only see the code. They don't see the management team. They don't see everything. I mean, at the end, the user, and the more code you produce, the better it is for the customer in terms of user experience, if it's well managed, and in terms of number of services that you produce. So this is what we learn, is to reorganize around the code and be able then to organize other tasks, so we have the maximum productivity for code, for the developers. And coordination, we try different systems. The simplest systems are the ones that people are using. And Trello, for example, we have not done an analysis with different systems to check the functionality, check the price, and select the best one. I mean, the developers, they just came with one, and since they were using this one, okay, let's keep it. So we used the one used by the team, and it was okay. Then we enlarged the system. And then we are, at least in France, IT department, they outsource a lot of tasks to different companies. I think that there is a trend to re-insource some of the tasks, re-insource the developers, and I already talked with other CIOs about this. But anyway, even if you outsource, don't trust what your outsourcers, your system integrators are telling. I mean, challenge them, because if you go agile, if you go lean, and you challenge only your team, I mean, it's not fair. So you need to find a way to challenge also your suppliers if you put your suppliers in it. How to challenge your suppliers? You put this into the contracts. So it's okay to write a contract where there is an improvement, or there are an improvement that is in the contract. And if not, it's not possible. It won't work. It won't work with a mixed team of internal people and external people, and we should behave as a team to be able to deliver the best. Thank you.